Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Rockvox podcast, Ethics of Singerhood, where we discuss the ins and outs of singing, have some real talk about what it means to actually be a singer, and all of the unspoken truths that nobody really talks about. My name is Rachel. I'm a vocal coach. I'm also a local rock star here in Seattle and a singer who has learned the hard way a lot over and over and over again. Today, we are talking about boundaries, how to quit while you're ahead, and how to push back against burnout culture. If you've ever pushed yourself past the breaking point just to prove that you can handle it, this one's for you. Before we get into it, I actually do want to give a little bit of an overview. So my voice sounds a little bit more husky than usual. And it's because I have had a hard time setting boundaries this week with my vocal load. I'm back with a full class schedule. The school year has started and I'm in rehearsals again. I'm also teaching elsewhere. So I am vocally fatigued, but lucky for you guys, I'm going to do it anyway. The boundary I've set with myself this week is do the freaking podcast. So here we are. Do as I say, not as I do. Okay? Let's get into it. The first thing I want to talk about is the expectations versus the reality of what it means to be a working singer. When you first start singing in whatever facet that you are singing in, it's typically easy to push yourself because you have never burnt out your voice before in this very, very special way that we all have found ourselves at or in or operating under. And you always kind of want to be the person who's like, no, I can go another round, I can sing another set, this, that, and the other thing, which is admirable and it feels cool in the moment when you are capable of doing it. As somebody who is often in the rehearsal room, in the studio, in voice lessons, and all over the map with singing, it's pretty common that I hear just push through it, just sing louder, just try again, push harder. And all of those things have almost no context to people who aren't actually singers. And I feel like we've probably all encountered these people who are like, oh, I knew a singer who could sing for 8 to 10 hours, or someone who was doing 3 hour sets every night. And, I feel like maybe those things are true. And I wonder how those people are paying for it. Or I wonder how much they've trained for that kind of arena. And they've probably had to set lots of boundaries along the way, because if you're going to sing for 8 hours, you got to have rock solid technique and probably not ill intended, but potentially no life because you're on vocal rest for like 7 days after that. Every single time I've pushed past my limit, I've seen it as resilience. And it almost always shows up as self destruction in the long run. In the industry that I am currently in, which is like rock band, local scene stuff. Not to call people out, but I feel like it's important to like share this experience. The amount of times that in my own project and other projects I've had to say, hey, we've been going at this for like 3 hours and I actually just need a break or I need to stop is more than two. And being met with this kind of unrealistic expectation of like, well, my fingers still work. I can still play my guitar. I can still play my piano. I can still play my drum set, blah, 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 whatever it is. You can keep singing. I can't emphasize enough how much of an athletic activity singing is. And the same way that like world-class runners are not, doing sprints for 3 hours every day. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's not how it works. Your voice also needs parameters. It needs buffers, it needs bumpers, it needs guidelines so that you can have longevity, so that you can have success, and that you can get the results that you're ultimately looking for. So my very first experience with a vocal session recording was actually in Nashville. And I was there when I had first started writing music for my project Ives, and I had never ever recorded vocals before. The people who know me personally know that recording is definitely a weak spot for me, just because I think I started off with so many negative experiences that I was just like, why would I ever record anything? And you know what? You actually can't really have a career in music if you don't record it and then release it. Fun fact. So I was in Nashville. I was with this person who wanted to produce one of my songs, and he said we're going to do as many vocal takes as it takes to get this whole thing done in whatever one day. And I was in this teeny tiny booth for 6 hours singing, just like at the top of and out of my range, pushing and pulling and squelching and scraping. And we did end up getting some good takes, but I was utterly exhausted afterwards. And for someone who wasn't singing too much at the time, the bounce back was rather quick. Um, but I thought that that was the expectation. I was like, oh, okay, like if the pros are doing 6 7 hour vocal takes in the studio, like I gotta really get my chops up. And I think that experience really did kind of like scar me and make me think of my voice in a way of like, oh, it's like it's weak if I can't sing for this long. And even 3 hours is like not that long, you can push through it. And the reality is 3 hours is long, 6 hours is too long. Any longer than that, I don't know. IDK. I mean, go off, queen, king, if that's you. um when I did have my first experience in a like a professional recording environment, the engineer said, hey, you're going to come in on a day without all the other musicians and you're going to do your vocal takes in like 2 3 hours max. And I was like, huh, that's crazy. I thought this would take forever. And they were like, no, you're going to come in probably multiple days to do different takes. And it didn't really occur to me until somebody else said it, like, it doesn't make sense for you to sing for 6 hours if you want good vocal takes. If you want good vocal takes, you want to do it in like 2 to 3 hours while you're relatively fresh and rested, hydrated, warmed up, all that jazz. Um, so that was a way better experience. Singing with people who actually cared and were knowledgeable about the voice, even in a small way, was kind of like a little bit of a wake up call for me. I remember liking the way that I sounded so much better. And if you're a singer, your self esteem sometimes can hinge on your performance, which is a different podcast, different episode. And when you do vocal takes for 6 plus hours, your takes get worse and worse. You get tired, you get fatigued. And when you do it in a couple of hours, they come out sounding like you want them to sound. And there's nothing better than listening to the playback being like, oh my God, I'm a singer. Wow. So to sum up this whole light bulb moment experience, the shorter the session is, the higher quality you're going to perform. Higher quality your vocals are going to be, because you perform better when you're rested, when you're warmed up, when you're not pushing past your limits. And performance is what creates the lasting impression. Performance is the thing that goes on the record. Performance is on the radio. Performance is on stage, off stage even. And there's really no reason to push yourself past those limits. And for all you new singers out there who are just starting, if someone's asking you to sing past your limits, it's probably not the situation that you want to be in for very long. As an industry professional, I do kind of believe that it's my responsibility to rewrite this code of ethics, hence the title of the podcast, The Ethics of Singerhood. There is a lot of pressure and unknowns surrounding singers in many scenes. I mean, I'm sure it's different. I'll speak on the one that I'm in. But because voice science is relatively new, and if you're not a singer, you're probably not thinking about it or doing your research or listening to this podcast. What's up, everybody? If you're not a singer, you're probably not really concerning yourself with the boundaries you probably need to set if you're using your voice in an athletic way. Again, I've said it before, I'll say it again. Singing is an athletic event, and not only does it need recovery, it needs conditioning, it needs training, and it needs boundaries. The temptation to prove yourself will always be there. And sometimes it will be the right time, and sometimes it won't. But the opportunity will continue to present itself without a widespread knowledge of the capability of singers and the capability of these two teeny tiny vocal folds that sit in your throat. So every time we say, every time we set a boundary with our voice, like after the third freaking run of the set, you say, I'm marking this one. I do want to say my band is really good with this one. Love you guys. Every time you set that boundary, you are rewriting the code of ethics. Every time you say, I'm actually not going to sing another hour, I can't do another set, I need to call it for the night, you're rewriting the code of ethics for singers everywhere. Now, this is not to say that we're going to change the world in a couple of boundary setting, but you never know. Also, I'm pointing out this issue as something that I've experienced. If you haven't experienced people pushing you past your limits and you have really great people around you that are knowledgeable, that's freaking incredible. And my idea with this podcast is to empower others to stand in their own knowledge and recognize in their body when something isn't right, and to not push past the limit to get closer to an injury or some kind of catastrophic event, because those things are way more difficult to come back from than setting a boundary and saying, hey, I actually can't do the rest of this rehearsal, or I can't sing another hour, or I'm not doing a studio session longer than 3 hours. So it's supposed to be empowering. That's the idea. I'm here to empower you to set boundaries. I'm here to empower you to say no when your body can't do it. And by saying no, we are kind of rewriting the story here, which is important. Okay, all this being said, there is a caveat here. You can work up to playing 3 hour sets. People do it all the time. You can work up to 8 hour sets if that's your desire. That's not my desire, but hey, go off, do your thing. If you have the resources and training and rest to support something like that, that's incredible. That's amazing. I do want to bring into the scope the working singer, the working musician, and this is really for everybody, truthfully. It's not just for singers, it's for musicians. The majority of people who are making music don't come from like a background of insane money, the Disney Channel, all that jazz. And the expectations of the people who are in the higher tier of like pop music or rock music, whatever genre you're in, whatever field you're in, um, they do have access to more rest, more resources, more doctors, this, that, and the other thing. And that's not to say that someone who doesn't have access to all of those things can't succeed and can't push themselves and can't rise. If we talk about the Eras Tour, for example, that was a 3 hour long concert, I think. And Taylor Swift is not just like, the top of the pop charts and like highly sought after, but she also has access to other resources. Like, I would bet that she's got like a laryngeal massage therapist on call, which would be so amazing. It would be so awesome. It would be so cool. Um, and she probably also has like other various therapies and remedies at her disposal to recover from a 3 hour show of really tough music. That's no joke. Um, so if you're kicking yourself for having a hard time singing 3 hours of covers, just know like that's normal. That's okay. Singing for 3 hours is it's tough. It's tough to do. So the best that we can do is educate ourselves and make everybody aware of the resources that are available to us as maybe like non-billionaire performers. And I'm hoping that that's what this can be for a lot of people, and the studio in general. A lot of my work with artists in Seattle is rehabilitation and warm up, cool down strategies where we can rest, where we can go a little bit harder and really like having a strategy for better vocal hygiene, especially when it comes to people who work a 9 to 5 and then also have to go to rehearsal, or who have these huge lofty goals and are training all the time and also trying to make ends meet. It all comes in, it's all relevant, it's all factored into these things. And so if you find yourself comparing yourself to these bigger artists who are like singing for 3 hours all of their albums all the time, that's an incredible thing to be able to do. Comparison is the mind killer. It's incredible to have lofty goals. It's incredible to want to push yourself, and you absolutely should. And you absolutely should take care of your most precious instrument as well. So, the resources, they are abundant. You just have to look for them, or you got to know a guy. But most people aren't singing their 3 hour cover gigs and going straight to their, their personal massage therapist or whatever. And honestly, this could all be made up in my head. I have no idea what Taylor Swift does. But she's the person that comes to mind when I think of like a recent relevant example of like marathon singing. She doesn't do that show every night either. So I don't know, something to consider, something to think about. So what are some examples of setting boundaries in practice? Well, my favorite one, is, hey, I'm feeling a little tired tonight. I'm so excited for this show. I've got 2 full sets in me. Anything after that is going to be marking. So let's make it count for the first 2. And then whatever has to happen after that is going to be instrumental focused. I say that all the time in rehearsals. Not because I'm lazy, not because I don't work hard, not because I'm unprepared, but I teach for 5 hours every day. That's a huge vocal load. Regrets, I have a few, but then again, too few to mention. I will say it's really awesome to make money off of my dream. The only thing that makes it difficult is that the vocal load for me is so high. And the reason I'm experiencing this fatigue right now is because the summer load is just not very big. But when we get back into the school year, I'm basically leading an orientation and teaching warm-ups 5 hours a day for 4 days in a row, and warming up every hour on the hour for 5 hours. So needless to say, it's time for me to get better at setting boundaries. And, we're all learning. I'm not like an expert at setting boundaries. And if you know me personally, you definitely know that. But I want to empower people to set boundaries. And I also want to practice what I preach. And the band example is something that I do practice, because often our rehearsals are starting at 8 p.m. after everyone's done their 9 to 5 or 5 hours of teaching. And then we show up and you can't hear yourself because the PA is not loud enough and the drums are super loud and you're exhausted and you're starving, but you do it anyway. I do it anyway. So if you need practice setting boundaries, funny enough, my mom got me this. I recommend it. It's called Set Boundaries, Find Peace. It has, I don't think anything about being a musician in here, but if you're struggling and you're constantly losing your voice and you're overextending yourself and you're promising, or you're making promises and you're not able to keep them, for those of us who are just listening, I think I already said this, but Set Boundaries, Find Peace, a guide to reclaiming yourself. Everything's on theme. It's eclipse season, and I'm changing. We're all changing. You can set boundaries in a nice and kind way. One of my favorites is when the drummer, not the current drummer, but when a drummer has said to me, let's run it again. I want to run the set the 4th time. Or you're rehearsing with a bunch of people who have no idea what it means to be a singer. You can be kind. You can say, like I said, I'm happy to do another one, but I'm going to mark the vocals this round. And any pushback that comes back from that statement honestly probably means it's time to reevaluate who you're spending your time with. Just saying. It's not laziness. It's not you being a diva. It's protecting the show. It's protecting the product. It's protecting ultimately your body And the best performances come from conservation, not burnout. And if you've ever taken a lesson with me, you know that. We want it to feel easy, free and easy. And anywhere that you don't have to sing super hard, don't. The beauty of being a singer and the beauty of your artistry comes from not just the exact precise way that your voice sounds. It's the full package. It's the artistry, it's the acting, it's the feeling, and it's the voice. They all come together. And then it's beautiful. And then you win a Grammy. Boom, boom, boom. It's just like that. It's simple. It's not easy, but it's simple. Just kidding. I don't know anything about winning a Grammy yet. All right. What are the main takeaways from this little anti-rant that you've so graciously given your time to check out and listen? Today we talked about dismantling burnout culture, how to set some boundaries, how to spot toxic expectations, and practice boundary setting language. It's so, so important for us as musicians, for us as people, for us as performers, as coworkers, as friends, as homies, as lovers. It's important to have boundaries. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you took something from it. And if you are not subscribed on YouTube, on Spotify, or following me on Instagram, it's wildly helpful to me to spread the good word if you are able to subscribe and share with your friends. Maybe you are a singer, maybe you want to be a singer. The studio is open. I'm so excited to be back in the swing of things for this school year. That tends to be when things pick up. There's always gigs, there's always rehearsals, there's always something to be rehearsing for. If you feel like something is off in your voice, don't hesitate to reach out. Don't hesitate to send me an email. There's an abundance of resources around the Pacific Northwest and voices and singing that I am always happy to share. And I hope that you set healthy boundaries for yourself. Stay safe and healthy during this season of what is usually sickness. And thanks for joining me on the Rock Vox podcast, The Ethics of Singerhood. Protect the goods so they stay good. And I will see you guys next time.